Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I am the GM Philosopher, and today I'm continuing part 2 of my 25-part lecture series on deeper GM craft, and I have some bad news. I have a lecture that I've written, and it is 5 pages long, and I am afraid if I sit here and read this in a monotone fashion like I did in yesterday's video, it's going to be boring. I do not want my videos to be boring, and yesterday's video, I went a little artsy with it, and it got a little boring. You can find a link to that one if you want to see, if you want to find lecture 1. This is lecture 2, and I want to make it a little more fun. So guess what? Welcome to the lecture series segment where I try to make my lectures more engaging and fun. Let's go. Let us start with my introduction, my premise. Drop a comment, let me know if you agree with this one, okay? When first taking on the role of Game Master, it can feel like world building and player agency are almost at odds. On one hand, you must create a world that feels rich, coherent, and alive. A sandbox in which the story can take place. On the other hand, however, players crave the freedom to make meaningful choices that impact the direction of the story. We all know this, right? we know. Balancing these two forces, your desire as a co-storyteller to craft a vibrant setting while honoring the player's desires for agency lies at the heart of what it means to run a fun and successful tabletop RPG. A common fear for new or even experienced GMs is the dreaded railroad. Yes, the railroad, in which you push your players down a narrow, predetermined path that ignores their choices. God forbid. God forbid. While a fixed narrative is sometimes appropriate, especially if players have agreed to follow a specific storyline, it often defeats the deeper appeal of TTRPGs, the ability to forge a personal path for the character. The key is to build a setting that feels authentic, yet never suffocates the player's freedom. All right, so far so good, right? I hope you're still with me. I hope you're still awake. All right, now we're going to talk about the tension between world building and agency, okay? I'm really trying to make this a little more fun. I realize that this is kind of dry. It's just, these are such important and crucial topics, and I feel like they're important to say. I also know, though, that people come to YouTube to be entertained, not put to sleep. So bear with me. Bear with me. Hit the thumbs up button. It might keep you awake a little bit longer. All right, let's talk about the tension between world building and agency. World building is the act of filling in the pixels around the characters, creating NPCs, settings, cultures, conflicts, lore, and everything else that makes your campaign feel real. By populating the world with depth and detail, you invite players to immerse themselves within the game. Yeah, checks out, right? Checks out. World building. Agency now. What is agency? How is this different? Agency refers to the player's freedom to shape their own destinies, to decide where to go, who to trust, and how to respond to the challenges they encounter. In TTRPGs, player agency means that their choices truly matter. This is really important for players. There is a delicate interplay here. Too little structure, and the world can feel aimless. This is sort of the classic sandbox complaint, right? But too much structure, and the players feel railroaded. This is a crucial place that we come to as GMs oftentimes. Striking a balance means giving the world enough weight to seem lived in, while allowing room for the party to choose an unexpected direction, should they choose to. You know, not like parties ever do that. Does your party ever choose an unexpected direction to go in? Surely not. Surely they're well-behaved players, right? As if there were such a thing. As if. Speaking of the party doing unexpected things, if your party does unexpected things, you should download my Ultimate Plot Randomizer. This is a free ebook I give away to help you create nearly endless plot arcs on the fly. It has 4 D100 tables, roll in the hook table, the complication table, the climax table, and even on the wild wacky table to come up with plot arcs that your characters would never see coming. You can sign up for this via the link in the description. If you join my email list, you'll get an autoresponder email within about 15 minutes with a download link that you can use to download this. You can print it out, put it with your stuff, and boom, random roll those plot arcs whenever you need them. I use this nearly every time I do anything D&D related because my players are well known for just going way off the beaten path. So hey, yeah, grab that, join my mailing list. It's awesome. All right, now it's time to get serious. Game Masters, what is railroading? Let's be specific. Let's talk about this for just a second. Leave a comment, let me know if you agree with this. Railroading is the point where a GM stops running a living, breathing world and instead forces the story in a fixed direction, leaving no real room for player choice. The players might feel held hostage by the narrative in a railroaded game, forced into paths they don't find interesting or want to pursue. This is the horror story, right? This is the horror story that players tell about that terrible game they played in that was railroaded. This can lead to frustration and a sense that the players are merely spectators in someone else's story. Now, I do have a clarifying piece of information here. I have a clarifying statement. With that being said, it is also important to understand that world building is not inherently railroading, and understanding the difference between these two things is essential in order to keep discerning game masters from needlessly doubting their own capacity to bring story, struggle, drama, and creativity into the game. Do you ever feel like you're afraid of railroading, even though you're probably not railroading? If so, then this is for you, because I actually do fall into this category. There are times when I'm so afraid of railroading that I will second guess myself, even just as I create things. Now, this isn't so much happening to me now, later on in life, but when I was a younger GM, this would happen. For example, offering a single obvious tavern in a remote village is not automatically railroading. It could be said, well, GM, if you only give them one option, that's a railroad. But this is not necessarily railroading. Realistically, that might be the only tavern for miles. Players can still choose not to visit it, right? Or if you're running a game for a particularly troublesome crew, right? Not that there's no such thing as a troublesome party, but if there were, right? Wink, wink, and blink if you need help. If there were a particularly troublesome crew and you're running a game for them, they may even opt to burn down that tavern as an act of free will. How's that for railroading? Shove that railroading right in your face and then get out your fire extinguisher, because I don't know if you've ever had your players burn down your tavern, but it happens. The difference is whether you provide genuine consequences and respect alternatives to what you planned on happening. And that's the deeper part of it. Or if you respond to an unexpected choice by artificially forcing them back onto your planned path. Do you have the big god titan show up to defend this tavern that was crucial to your special game master plan? If so, then it's possible that you are delving a little bit into the railroading. But if players are being given agency, then no, railroading is not taking place. Now, quick before we talk about the next section, I do want to share with you one of my favorite ebooks that the GM Philosophy Publishing has ever put out. This is the GM Philosopher's Ultimate Adventure Generator, a massive collection of 163 random roll tables on 310 print-friendly pages. This book contains basically a ton of random tables to help you govern nearly every single aspect of adventure creation. There are random tables for selecting the adventure theme, defining the main quest or objective, choosing the setting or location, identifying the main antagonist, determining key NPCs, generating obstacles and challenges, adding complications or plot twists, selecting important items or MacGuffins, establishing an adventure hook, determining subplots and side quests, and more. Plus, some of these tables are really wild. Check out, for example, Chapter 2, Define the Main Quest or Objective. There are random tables for the main quest types, quest urgency, quest stakes, quest beneficiary, quest motivations, quest antagonists, quest complications, objectives, rewards, initiators, obstacles, allies, MacGuffins, endings, themes, limitations, setting specifics, moral choices, opposition forces, communication methods, and then literally a D100 table, plug and play quest lines, and that is all just in Chapter 2. This book is currently for sale on my personal bookstore for just $5.99. Link is in the description. This is how we support the small creators and the infrastructure here at GM Philosophy and the channel, the Discord, everything else. So thank you so much, and I hope that you'll consider grabbing a copy for yourself to make your adventures even better, to roll on some awesome random roll tables, and to support the channel at the same time. So thank you so much for listening to my little spiel, and now let's get back to the video. Now, with our discussion about railroading behind us, or at least our definition for it, it is time to discuss the role of storyteller versus facilitator. What does this mean for a game master? Well, here is the dark truth that you must understand. my apprentice. Here's what you need to know. As a storyteller, your job is to create the setting, tone, and narrative elements, plot hooks, intriguing conflicts, and dynamic NPCs. You breathe life into the cultures, geographies, and emotional stakes that your world offers. Without a cohesive narrative, the players have no threads to follow, nothing to sink their characters into. This is the part of being a game master where there is storytelling. Now, how does this differ from being a facilitator? Well, that is a great question, and let's talk about that next. As a facilitator, you empower the players to make choices that meaningfully affect the game. You reveal possible pathways or place interesting dilemmas before them, but never remove their ability to say no or do something unexpected. A living world continues to unfold with or without their involvement, right? But it reacts honestly and in accordance with natural evolutionary laws to their presence. And here is the key, you discerning game masters out there. Here's the key to the storyteller versus facilitator conversation. While these two roles can feel contradictory, they are, in fact, complementary. The best GMs weave a vivid tapestry while leaving enough empty space for players to fill with their own decisions and creativity. Hence the magic of player agency when it is blended with the immersive, beautiful world that you have woven together for your players. And now, my esteemed guests here on the GM Philosophy in the Morning channel, I have some bad news, okay? I hate to inform you of this. You're going to be wrecked with emotion when you hear this. But we have one more section to read. Okay, we have one more section here. All right, it's called Embracing the Spectrum of Player Choice. And once again, I'm trying not to get lecturely here. I'm trying to keep this light. I'm trying to make this fun. Drop a comment. Let me know if you like this approach, or if you prefer for me to just deliver in drab academic fashion the contents of my speech. Another thing is that I've realized that all 5 of these pages, this is going to be way too much. This video is going to be way too long. So this is the final part. I'm going to give you this part because I think that when I add this part, I've pretty much covered all of the bases. So let's dive in here. A living world is dynamic. Your NPCs might offer quests, approach the party for assistance, or present social dilemmas based on the character's reputations or perceived wealth. These moments aren't railroading. They're not. They're logical outcomes of a believable reality. This is really important, right? Immersion necessitates that things carry on in a somewhat believably lifelike fashion. And that's what we're doing when we do these things. This doesn't, just because we're approaching the player characters with opportunities does not mean we're railroading. Choice is the determining factor. Problems only arise when the GM forces players to follow a single story thread with no alternatives. In truth, players do not always know their character's story from the outset. Now, this is really important. It is really the goal for the game master to facilitate the telling of the story of the characters, the player characters. But here's the tricky part. Players do not know the stories of their characters yet. They know their backstory. They know their value system. They know what constitutes this character. But the story is yet to be told. In order for the player to tell that story, they need the game master. See, this is a collaborative intellectual art effort. Hence the value of working together, and hence why the GM shouldn't be too afraid of railroading so that they don't bring anything before the player characters as far as like possibilities and opportunities. Anyway, players do not always know the character's story from the outset. Instead, they discover it along the way through crisis, through moral choice, through alliances. The GM's responsibility is to remain open to wherever those discoveries might lead organically, allowing the shared narrative to evolve, letting it become its own thing, letting it breathe, letting it have life, letting it have choice, not being afraid of the free choices that the characters may make. This is the magic that happens when the GM embraces player choice. Now, some GMs are a little afraid of player choice. They're afraid of players doing wild things and throwing all plans to the wind. Well, you know what? Your plans are going to get trampled. Trampled. But that's okay, because the plan was, it was a temporary thing. It was a hypothetical. It was something that might happen. It was inspiration. But it wasn't necessarily to be 100%. Because as we know, choices change things. Player choice changes things. And so that takes us into a realm where when we see what the characters do, often it changes, reinforms what we are going to do with those choices. What opportunities are going to come up now? What new things are going to happen? And these are very important things for the Game Master to take very seriously. And I have one more thing to tell you. Good news. I have one more. I'm going to read you just my little outro take here, okay? Here we go. Remember, TTRPGs are a collaborative art form. The GM is the director, but the cast shares in the creation. Encourage unexpected paths, revel in the challenges you present, and above all, remain open to the fact that the best stories often emerge from the intersection of your world building and the player's irrepressible will to shape the fates of their characters. In the end, that intersection where your world meets their agency is exactly where the real magic happens. And that, my friends, is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you so much for coming back for lecture number 2 in my lecture series, Deeper GM Craft. Tomorrow, lecture 3 will be coming online at 6 a.m. as usual. Thank you so much for coming back for another one of my videos. I'm here every single day, creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. And I'm here every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time for Coffee Break Live, where we go live and talk about some cool D&D stuff in a more casual format for my coffee break. And with that being said, I hope you have an amazing day. Roll some D100s for me at your next game. I will catch you awesome people on the next one.